Welcome to this explainer. Today we're looking at one of the most fascinating and honestly kind of startling paradoxes out there. Every single year, billions of dollars change hands. We're talking sprawling mansions, massive stock portfolios, entire businesses pass from parents to children. It looks like the ultimate setup for endless success, right? But here's the crazy part. Almost all of it vanishes. It just disappears, faster than a teenager with a new credit card. All that money, the assets, the power, it just evaporates almost as quickly as it was built. There was this massive 20-year study that looked at over 3,000 families, and what they found is just shocking. 70% of wealthy families lose their fortune by the second generation. 70%! That means the kids of the person who actually built the wealth end up watching it completely slip through their fingers. And wow, it gets worse. By the time you hit the third generation, so the grandchildren, an astounding 90% of that family wealth is totally gone. Just poof, wiped out. You'd think it takes centuries to lose an empire, but it rarely even takes 50 years. The vast majority of these fortunes just quietly crumble. So that brings us to the real mystery we're going to unpack today, because there is a very small handful of families that completely break this pattern. You know the names, the Rockefellers, the Wallenbergs, the Hermès family. Their fortunes haven't just survived, they've thrived. We're talking through world wars, epic market crashes, currency collapses, the whole shebang. So what do these surviving families know that everyone else doesn't? How do they build systems that actually outlive them?
Let's get into section 1, the hidden difference, why wealth disappears. To really understand this, we have to strip away all those glamorous assumptions we see in movies and face a pretty uncomfortable truth. I think a lot of us assume wealth gets destroyed by, say, a terrible stock market crash, bad investments, or just getting crushed by taxes. But the reality? It actually comes down to communication breakdowns and unprepared heirs. The families that last, they realize something absolutely crucial. The money didn't fail. The family failed. The fatal shift happens the exact second an heir looks at a fortune and thinks, hey, this is mine to spend, instead of, this is ours to steward. Looking at the data, a massive 60% of wealth failures trace back directly to families simply never talking openly about money, roles, or expectations. Add to that the 25% caused by heirs who were just completely unprepared to handle what they were given. When you put that together, you realize it's the internal family dynamics that are the true dynasty destroyers. Only a tiny 15% slice of the pie is actually lost to bad legal or tax planning. Literally, it's an inside job. Moving on to section 2, the invisible rules, the hidden playbook. I am so excited to share this hidden playbook with you because you are definitely not going to find these strategies in your standard personal finance books. There are 6 specific steps that form the survival blueprint for the ultra-wealthy. Number 1, ownership over consumption. They ask, what can this money build rather than what can it buy? To them, money is a seed you plant, not fruit you just eat right away. Number 2, thinking in generations, not just years or paychecks. 3, protecting capital. They're obsessed with not losing money before they even entertain the idea of making it. 4th is family governance, basically running the family like it's a corporation. 5th, early financial education. Kids are immersed in money talks way before they can even vote. And finally, number 6, delayed gratification. The intense, rock-solid discipline to reinvest instead of withdraw. Let's zoom in on rule number 2 for a second. Thinking in generations. Take the Wallenberg family in Sweden. They've operated successfully for almost 170 years. How? Well, they actually live by this unofficial Latin motto, to be rather than to seem. It's this total rejection of that flashy, high-consumption lifestyle that everyone assumes comes with old money. They favor quiet, long-term ownership over showing off short-term profits. And when we talk about rules 3 and 4, protecting capital and family governance, John D. Rockefeller Jr. was an absolute master at this. Back in the 1930s, he created this network of trusts, nicknamed Room 5600. The whole point was to legally separate ownership from control. It basically ensures that one single bad decision, a messy divorce, or a reckless heir can't sink the entire ship. I mean, the Rockefellers even hold structured board meetings with over 100 relatives in the room just to make sure every single generation understands exactly what they have and why they have it. Okay, let's look at section 3, real dynasties in action. Let's look at the Hermès family. They've controlled their iconic luxury house since 1837. But flash forward to 2010, the giant conglomerate LVMH quietly built up a massive stake, trying to pull off a stealth takeover. Now, most families would totally panic, fracture, or just take the payout and sell, but not Hermès. Because of their discipline and their governance rules, dozens of family members just pulled their individual shares into a single holding company. They locked their ownership together for decades, and the takeover was completely blocked. To this day, the family still retains roughly 2/3 control. That right there is the pure power of locked-in generational ownership. Or let's bounce back to the Wallenbergs. Through every major global catastrophe you can think of, 2 world wars, the Great Depression, the 2008 financial crisis, their investment company held absolutely strong. Today, they maintain massive stakes in giants like Ericsson and AstraZeneca. Their secret sauce? They deliberately separate ownership from daily management. They hire professional executives to run the businesses day-to-day, while the family focuses entirely on long-term stewardship. They didn't just get lucky, they built a system specifically designed to survive really bad luck. Let's head into Section 4, Why Most Families Fail, the 90% failure rate. So, a logical question. If this blueprint is so well documented, and these historical examples are so crystal clear, why are we seeing a 90% failure rate? Why is this so incredibly hard? Well, it usually comes down to 5 fatal traps. First up is lifestyle inflation. As wealth grows, spending grows, and a lavish lifestyle is incredibly hard to shrink down for the next generation. Second is no education. Wealthy parents often feel, kind of awkward discussing money, so they just avoid the topic altogether. This leaves heirs completely unprepared. Third is conflict. Money acts like a giant magnifying glass for any existing family tension, which ends up fracturing the assets. Fourth is no succession. Founders fail to prepare a replacement, which eventually forces the family to sell the business. And the fifth trap is short-term focus. Chasing those quick wins might work out for one generation, but it practically guarantees failure by the third. Which brings us to Section 5, Lessons for Every Family. Now, I know exactly what you might be thinking. Okay, I don't have a 9-figure fortune or a massive family office. How does any of this apply to me? Well, the true beauty of these invisible rules is that they scale down perfectly to your own life. So here are your highly actionable takeaways. First, speak openly about money with whoever is going to inherit what you built. Like we saw, it's silence that breaks families, not the size of the bank account. Second, think in decades. Treat your dollars as choices between consumption and ownership. Third, build simple structures today. Getting a clear will or a basic trust setup is a crucial first step. Please don't wait for a crisis to hit. Fourth, include your kids in real financial decisions early on. And finally, separate your identity from your wealth. See it as a responsibility that you're temporarily managing, not a reflection of your worth as a person. When you look at the families who have successfully navigated literally centuries of chaos, you realize something pretty profound. Passing down money is incredibly easy. It literally just takes a signature. But discipline, communication, purpose, those things have to be modeled and repeated over and over until they become pure instinct. Which leads us to this incredible realization. Wealth was never the actual thing being passed down. The rules were. Not just entirely redefines what an inheritance actually is, doesn't it? It's really not about the assets sitting in a bank. It's about the systems built in the mind. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one vital question to reflect on for your own legacy. What rules are you passing down?